Hey everyone, welcome back to another lesson here on the channel. Today we're going to be talking about how to design your product packaging so you can have nice, beautiful packaging so your customers leave you good reviews. If that sounds like something you'd be interested in watching, be sure to stick around the end. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. But without further ado, let's get right into it. All right, so we're here in my computer and I just wanted to jump right into the absolute first step of this. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is get your inspiration for your packaging. Now, of course, you need to have established a relationship with a supplier that's going to be willing to do customized packaging for you. So if you haven't already, make sure to reach out to your supplier who's going to be supplying you with your units that you're going to be selling, and make sure they've agreed to print a custom packaging for you. And it usually has something to do with the amount that you order. If you're decent at negotiating, you should usually get it down to any amount that you order. Imagining that it's over 200 or 300. So the first thing that I like to do is get my inspiration for packaging. Today's gonna be more about designing your product packaging and how that works. So I always come over to Fiverr, and where I get my inspiration is actually by looking at other product packaging that I really like, and what better place to look than all of these Amazon, drop shipping, website, e-commerce products packaging that have been designed. So I'll come onto Fiverr and I'll search product packaging designer, as you can see up here, or design. And then here's a really good example, right? So like that's a very clean, modern looking box. And we could come through here and I mean, these are all just kind of generic layouts that they have. But here you can see they've done something with looks like a compost bin. They have a picture of the product on there, their brand name. So this is getting closer to what we want. I'll be telling you specifically what I like to add to my product packaging. Here you can see we have this more minimal packaging design. That's a non-colored and it's on the actual cardboard itself. Still looks good. It's still better than just having a cardboard box with nothing on it. So coming back out here to our main page, let's talk about the things that you have to have enabled to actually proceed with one of these freelancers here. Well, you have to have your packaging template file, or you have to have the dimensions of your final consumer product packaging. The reason for that is because the packaging designer needs to know how to actually shape the box, the mock-up, and what style and what size they have to build it in. So there's going to be different sides and different areas and different parts that fold over each other that they have to take into consideration when they're building out this design for you. So you can ask your supplier for a packaging template, which is usually what I'll start by asking for. If they say they don't have a packaging template file for a packaging designer, well then you could ask them for the dimensions of the product packaging. They'll usually have that template though. And once you have that, you're pretty much good to go. You have a supplier that's agreed to do custom packaging, and you have your packaging template or just the dimensions of the box that your product's going to be in. You're good to go. So now you could move on to starting to look for someone to design your product packaging. Common question that I get asked is, how much does this cost? Well, generally you can assume that you'll be paying anywhere from about $50 to $85 for really good product packaging. And then maybe an additional 20 to 40 cents per unit from your supplier, depending on the cost of your product and depending on the size of your product and how big that box is. But you can almost always get custom packaging, guys. So I want to instill some resourcefulness in you today, right? Because if your supplier is saying, oh, I can't do product packaging, well, as a motivated entrepreneur like you probably are, you don't just say, oh, okay, that stinks, I really wanted it. No, what you could actually do is you could reach out to a box designer or box supplier on Alibaba, or ask your supplier if they could reach out to a company that designs packaging and say that you'll pay for it, right? Because even if it comes down to 50 cents per unit, I think in the long run, that's still worth it, right? If you're ordering 500 units, it's gonna end up being 250 bucks every time you order. Usually that's not a whole lot to tack onto an order, and that's on the high end, right? That's 50 cents per unit. I've paid 25 cents a box before. So once I figured all that out, right? I know that I can do product packaging. I have my template. I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna start looking for inspiration. Now you might already have inspiration, right? You might know exactly what you want to look like. And I wanted to show you an example of product packaging that I just recently got designed for one of my new products. So let me go pull that up. All right, so here you can actually see some packaging that I had just recently designed. So I kind of had this idea to put like these kind of bohemian, like floral design on it because it kind of fits the theme of the product. I wasn't super happy with my old packaging. It was good, it was custom, it was better than a normal box, but it wasn't speaking my brand the way that I wanted it to. So I've come out with these designs now for 2 variations. I have 2 other kinds coming out as well for different kinds of shelves, but they're all in the same branding, all in the same theme now. So when someone buys from my company now, they buy another variation of my product, they see that cohesive branding across, you know, a certain line of products. So yeah, that's what I was talking about. If you already kind of have an idea of what you want, well, guess what? You can draw out on a piece of paper a rough sketch and send it to your packaging designer. And that's what I often do. In fact, it is what I do. I'd show you the paper if I had it here in front of me. It was probably in the garbage somewhere. So you could draw a rectangle and go front of box. What I'll do is I'll go main image here, I'll go title here, and then I'll go floral design around the edges of the packaging. And that's exactly what they end up coming up with. And of course on the sides, there's a thank you for ordering, an email address to the company and things like that. But yeah, so what I want you to keep in mind is if you want really persuasive branding, I do recommend putting a picture of your product on the packaging. So that's the only place where you might run into some awkwardness of like the flow of things, because generally you want to get your packaging being printed and your main order being worked on before your photography is getting done. So what I would recommend that you do is you ask your supplier. Sometimes they'll have in-house photography because they have, hundreds of products and they have to put them on Alibaba and other sites and take pictures of them. You might be able to ask them for a cutout white background, high quality main image. If they have that, that's gonna work great. You could always use your main image that you end up coming with for your photographer for your next batch. So you could redesign packaging or just ask the designer who did it to edit it. I have had designers for no cost that I've worked with before just change something around that I wanted changed in the future for a next run of printing that I ended up getting done. But the main thing that I want to say here today is just don't let this intimidate you, because it's one of the easiest things that you can do. It really is just, for the most part, clicking and dragging, right? It's asking your supplier for the dimensions. It's telling the designer what you want. They give you the file, you send it to the supplier, you're done, right? So hopefully you enjoyed today's video. Hopefully it inspired you to maybe step up your game on your next order of your Amazon products or whatever kind of e-commerce product you're designing packaging for, and bring a nice, beautiful packaging to that customer so that you could get some good reviews, like I said in the beginning. So yeah, that's gonna be the main point for today. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, I'll see you here on the channel tomorrow for another video. Thanks so much. Later.